So we'll go up to our file, into our import assistant, into IDEA, and we're going to bring in a print report or Adobe PDF. Either one, it doesn't make any difference to IDEA. It brings it in and you can handle it the same way. And the file that we're going to bring in this time is in our tutorial folder, and the one that we're interested in is the one at the bottom that says weblog.prn. Now if I try and open that one, what it does is it takes me into the report reader. And you can now see in the report reader, I'll make it full size, that we have multiple lines. This is exactly as it would come off of a printout. So I'm sitting with the week that this was run. This is a report who's been using the website to access, the internet to access which websites. We have our date line, we have the website that did, the time that they visited it, the duration, the name of the user, etc. So we need to be able to define these individual fields so that we can manipulate within them. See there that we've got our field containing the website is on a different line to the field containing the name. So we've got multiple fields or multiple in the data that we want to bring together. So the first thing that we're going to do is highlight the field containing the name. Okay, this is the second line. And on that, I have some choices. I can create a standard layer, create a floating layer, and once I've created the first layer, then I can say exclude this layer from the output. But the first thing I have to do is create my base layer. So I'm going to say create a standard layer, yes. Okay, and you'll see right away that over on the right hand side we now have a file or a box called field details. Now at the moment it's got nothing in it. We also have up at the top a field editor line, and you'll see that there's a red arrow on the left hand side. This is the field that we're going to work in. Okay, the layer that we're going to work in to identify our fields. So looking at this one, we need to find something that will define the line that we're interested in, which is that one there with Zumak Marta, that will differentiate that from any different types of lines. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use that colon, the line in the time. In the line above it, I'm going to put in a colon. And you'll see it's highlighted all look like that with a colon. And then I'm going to tell it I want these to be numeric traps. So I'll put two ends in the line up at the top. And what that's telling me is I'm now looking for any line which has a colon and two numerical digits. And any fields I define will now apply to all lines containing two numerical digits. Other trapping options over and above numeric, I can trap for text, I can trap for space, or I can do a non-blank trap. And that brings us rather nicely to polling question number 1. So I shall hand you back to Jim.
Okay, data lines are identified using, please select one, the anchor editor, an anchor trap, numeric traps, or non-blank traps. Okay, and we'll go ahead and close the poll, share the results. The anchor editor. Richard?
Sorry. Could you repeat the question? Sorry. Sorry, Jim. One thing I didn't do was print out a quick copy of the
Okay,
question for myself.
data lines are identified using the anchor editor, an anchor trap, numeric traps, or non-blank traps, and the response was anchor editor?
No, it's the anchor trap.
Anchor trap,
That little
so it's
colon that we
B.
put in
Okay,
trapped the line. Okay, the line is sitting in the anchor editor, but the thing that catches it and identifies all of them was that colon.
Okay.
If I take those out, if I close it down and take it back, have you hidden the poll results? Bring the
yes,
screen back.
I have
Okay.
hidden the poll results.
Thank you. Okay, if we take that, if I throw that away just now and go back and do it again,
Okay.
there's the line. It's a standard layer. It's up here, but it hasn't highlighted anything in blue. So it's in the editor, but it's not actually frozen anything until I put a trap in there by putting that colon in. And now it's trapped everything.
Okay.
And we'll put two numerics in. And that's what trapped that line and identified all of the subsequent versions of that line. Okay. So now we want to define the fields. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into that edit line and bold up all of those times. And you can see it's put them into blue in every single line. And I've now saved that whole definition. If I made a mistake, I can go into and I can edit the layer. I can pick up the information and change the information. I can also scan it for errors. And you can see it says there are no validation errors in this report. And that's because I increased the length of that. Had the line lower, if I go into edit that layer and I take that back, I can do it up here or I can do it over here. If I say that's okay now and save it and then scan for errors, it's going to tell me that line is wrong. The field width is 3 with the offset of 104. So I'm going to increase that and reduce that and say change it. There were no other errors found. So I'm now happy with that particular layer. Everyone happy with that, I hope. So now we're going to go for the other layers. And the next layer we're looking for is that layer that contains the date and the site. So I'm going to take that layer. And again, I'm going to create a standard layer. But this is now what's called an append layer. It's going to append it to the base layer that I've already created. Okay, so there's my line. First thing I need to do is anchor that line. And what I'll do this time, I'm looking for something which is unique in all of these, but doesn't occur in this line. So I'll take that minus or that hyphen in there, and up here I'll put it in. Now it's highlighted that, and if I go down through it, I can see that on each one it's picked up that whole line. So I'm now in a position to start defining the fields again. So I'll start with the date and scan that in. And again, if we look at the field information, we're now in layer 2. So we've got a base layer as layer 1, and we're now operating in layer 2. So now I can take my date, and I'll change its name, and I'm just going to call it date. You can see it's a type date. I could change it to numeric or whatever, but I'm happy with date. The mask is done an interpretation itself. It's analyzed that date field and it says it looks to me like year, month, day. I could, but I'm happy with that. Now here's an interesting one. that is only shown on the first line. If I select that layer, it will show up on the first record of the database, but it won't show on any subsequent records. So what I need to do now is go down to where it says blank cells, leave blank. And I'm going to click on it and say use the value from the previous record. So that up on the first line, that date will be appended, but on the second line, the same date will be appended, and the third and the fourth, till it comes to the next layer. And the next layer down here, it will now pick up that date and append it, append it, append it. So we're happy with that. Now I'm going to pick up the name of the site. So up here again in my editor, I'll pick it up, start. So I'll click in the right place and pick all of that up. Okay, and that's now going to be my site. Are we happy with that? Now I could do it there, or I could simply leave that out, take that and delete it. And I could, if I wanted, define again. I'm going to try. This time I'm going to put my date in. It's created it all. It's got the right mask. I'm going to call it date. I'm going to say for the blank cells, use the value from the previous record. And I could now, if I want, simply save that layer. Second layer with just the date. I'm now going to pick that layer, and I'm going to identify that one with a colon // and that will trap for me just that layer. And again, you can see it's brought it in. Now, in this case, we could have done it in one, but you don't have to. You can do it in multiple layers. If I then pick up my HTTP and take it right along, you see in layer 3. So I've got 3 layers within this. And that I'm going to call site. My offset's fine, I'm happy with that. It's a character field, I'm happy with that. For a blank cell, again, I can leave that blank, or I can use the value from the previous record if there was no field. And I'm happy with, again, I can save that layer. Okay. Now up here, we have the week. And I want to declare a layer for that week field because I want to get hold of that week. So I'll say yes. And the week, again, I'm going to anchor it using a colon because I can see there's nothing other than the week field that's got a colon in that space. And then I'll pick up the week. I'll change its name, funnily enough, to week. It's a numeric. I want to be able to use the value from the previous record. Otherwise, every record on the database will be blank except for that one record. So when I'm happy with that, I'll say OK again. And having said OK again, I'm now in a position where again I can go scan for errors. And you can see it doesn't appear to be correct. It's not going far enough over. There's one down here with WR instead of WRT. So I'll increase the field size. And it says I've still got one that's not long enough. So I can increase that again and change it. And I've still got ones that are not long enough. So I can change it interactively and pick up everything I need to for that. An idea will tell me when I've got it wrong, until the scan for errors tells me there are no mistakes. If I want to see what this looks like as a database, I can now go to my file and preview the database. And that's what my database will look like. So there's my time. I've got column 625 because I haven't defined that. So what I need to do is go into here, go into that layer and edit the layer. There's my 625. But if I look at it, the name is column 625. It's not the name I wanted for it, so I need to go back and change it to the time. The time or duration. Makes no odds. Since I said duration, I might as well make it duration. Then again, I can say it's okay, and I can go and preview my database again. And this time, I can now see that there's my duration, username, date, the site that they visited, and the week. So I can close that down. I'm now happy I've got on that screen is as near as I can get what I want. Over on the right hand side, you'll see that we're sitting in the standard layer with list 1, okay, which is our first layer. The field doesn't have a name yet, so we'll give it a name and we'll call it time. The type is a time, no decimals, no implied. The mask is hours, minutes, and seconds. We could change that if we wished, if it's a different layout. It's telling us the offset from the start of the printout is 9 and the actual width is 8. Blank cells we'll leave blank at the moment, so I'm quite happy with that one. I'm happy. I'll now move on to the next one. Okay, and we're going to define 3 fields. We're going to define the time, the duration, and the user. So I'll pick up the duration, and we can see the duration is here, and there's my 625. But you'll see what's happened. Down on the second line, Jack Collins, it's Mr. 5, because I picked it up from offset 104. I should have picked it up from an earlier offset, so I can go in on that and pull it further and give it an actual width instead of 3, take it out to 5. So now I'm covering the whole of that. If I hadn't, idea would tell me I got it wrong if I ask. So now we've got a numeric field, and we're happy with that. There is no mask, and we're happy with that. So we'll move over to the username. And again, I'm going to take the full field to pull in. I'm going to call it username. It's a character field, The offset starts in position 109 and it runs for 28 characters. We're happy with that. There's no mask. I will now set a whole layer by hitting the big green tick. So now I can go to File and I can import the report into IDEA, or I can do it straight from the button bar and just import into IDEA. It says, do I want to proceed with the import? Yes, I do. I have to save the template file in order to continue. What do I want to call it? I'll call it weblog. Now I've already got log. Do I want to replace it? Yes. And it gives me all of that. And it says, do I want to generate field stats, etc.? At the moment, no. So I'll simply say finish. And there's all of my information which I brought in. Okay. Everyone happy with that, I hope. And again, we've got the normal ACL, sorry, not ACL, IDEA. We can go and look at the field stats if we wanted on numeric fields, etc. When we're happy with it, we can then do whatever we want to do. And what we'll do, just to show you the example, I've got all of this information. An auditor, I'm concerned at people who are logging in after hours. How many of them are logging in after hours and what are they doing? So again, I can go into my data as normal, same as we've done in the past, go into extractions and do a direct extraction, and I'll give it some criteria. I want to say if the time is greater than, and I'm going to put it in quotations because time is a time field, so it's going to be quotations 2000 hours colon 00 colon 00 close quotations, or time again is less than open quotes 06 colon 00 colon 00. So in other words, if anyone is logging in after 8 o'clock at night before 6 o'clock in the morning, I want to know why and who and etc. So I'll validate that and exit, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to call it logs at night. Say OK. It's doing a record extraction, and we've now got 66 records. So we started off with a web log of 168 records. I have a whole pile of people who were logging in somewhere in the middle of the night or in the morning. Now if these people are coming in from overseas, which it looks like some of them are, maybe that's okay. If there are people who are working on the night shift, what are they doing looking at careers.org when we are paying them? What are they doing going into gambling.com? All of these potential things we may be interested in as auditors. Exactly the same as any other audit that we're carrying out.